Well, I've become a bit more of an Assassin's Creed fan over the past few months here, so today I thought I would go over a tier list where I'm going to be ranking the Assassin's Creed games all based on a tier list. So, anything I haven't played off rip, I'm just going to be putting into the not played slot. Like anything like kind of like I don't know what you'd call it, the spin off kind of games, anything DS or a lot of DLC I haven't played yet. Anything I haven't played off rip, you're going to go into the not played slot and then we're gonna work with what we have. So I haven't played like every single mainline game yet either. Actually, like there's actually like quite a few not played here that I haven't done yet thus far. But I have played most of them. I think they're all here that I have played now. Yes, or actually Syndicate I'm playing through as we speak. But the rest of them I have. Syndicate Valhalla, I'm trying to work through those too as well. We do have the Black Flag resync thing coming up here as well. So I know that's a lot that I haven't played, but most of these are like side scroller games on consoles that I just don't have. So I'd have to like at least go back and watch it to get my opinion on it. But let's start this off with Assassin's Creed 1. Now, a lot of people do love this game, right? And in my opinion, I do think it's a good game. It set the foundation for the franchise. That is what I like to think of it because it ultimately did. However, what I will say, the mission design in this game is very repetitive. I think the overall gameplay is kind of just meh. It's kind of boring. The story's good actually. There is some depth there that to be had. Like for instance, like as the game goes on, Altair, the main protagonist, does a really good job of kind of starting to question things, right? He's kind of thinking, is this really the way that I want to be doing this? And he really does question things really well. And he starts questioning his leader. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name. Like, that is just not. That's going to end very badly. But ultimately, it turns out his leader was a traitor, and he has to fight him, which the boss battle was okay. The gameplay was kind of meh. It's very counter kill spammy, which, like, some people enjoy. I don't love it personally. I think it's okay. It's not my favorite thing in the world. The mission design very repetitive. However, I will say the assassinations, like I forget what you call them, the corridors, whatever you call them. It is very interesting to hear them kind of talk from their perspective and almost like try to prove their point. And sometimes these guys who are getting like assassinated do genuinely like make good points and make you question your leader. Like, why are you doing these things that your leader is just telling you to do? It's almost like you're a dog or something like that. You know what I mean? Like you're just doing whatever he tells you to. And I do think there is some truth to that. And this game also obviously introduced the modern day with the best modern day protagonist and Desmond Miles, the best one by far. Like it's not even really up for debate, to be honest with you. And like I said, this game did a good job setting the foundation. However, in my opinion, it's actually one of the worst games in the franchise, only because the other games did things better, right? And I'm not dissing the current game. It's a compliment to future titles. Now, I'm going to preface this right now by saying that I don't think that there's any game that's going to go in this D tier slot because I don't think that's really fair to them. I think Assassin's Creed is going to get C tier. It's the original. It did a lot of things well, but I think the future games just improved upon certain things. The one thing I will say this game probably did the best is social stealth, in my opinion, but I wouldn't say that, like, I don't personally use social stealth a whole lot, so it's just not my personal taste. Next up, Assassin's Creed 2. Now, this is the best game in the franchise, in my opinion. And let's just be honest, the introduction to Ezio Auditore da Firenze, it's just something special. We witness him from birth all the way up until around close to the age of 40. This game's got some really good levels, really good mission design. I love, exploring through Italy. And I thought, yes, Ezio is a main protagonist, but I also loved having people like Leonardo da Vinci in the game. He's a great side character to have, in my opinion. I think that Ezio, obviously a very charismatic person, very good personality. Obviously, I don't mind the revenge story plot. The whole thing about the Rodrigo Borgia being the main villain, I don't personally mind too much. I can understand why Ezio didn't want to assassinate Rodrigo at the end of the game, because his whole thing is like his character arc is kind of about like not necessarily wanting to just seek revenge because it's not going to bring him peace, but it ultimately caused a demise in Brotherhood. It did come back to bite him later on. So it wasn't a very smart decision by Ezio to do that. but I will say this game is my favorite game of the franchise. The modern day is definitely done better in this game, in my opinion, than it was in AC1. Pretty much everything that AC1 did, I would argue 2 did better. It may, possibly with the exception of social stealth, but even then, like AC2 did have social stealth, right? And like I'm sure there's a lot of things I'm missing. I'll probably have to go back in the future and remake this video because I'm sure there's a lot I'm missing. I've only played these games one time. I haven't like gone back to replay it and notice things. And so that's what I'll probably do in my next playthrough. Try to notice the smaller details. Moving on to Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, it's good. Don't get me wrong. I think it's slightly worse though than AC2. And the reason why I think it's worse is because I felt like a lot of this game kind of felt flat. This one's another revenge story, but this one I believe is on the Rodrigo Borgia's nephew. I'm blanking on his name off the top of my head, but you know exactly who I'm talking about. You could argue he's a better villain because he's got more personality to him. There's more to him as opposed to just a blank canvas, which I don't want to say Rodrigo Borgia didn't have anything to him, but he really didn't have a whole lot of personality, whereas, you know, his nephew's a lot more outspoken. He's a lot more showboaty. It's annoying. It makes you want to kill him more, but at the same time, it also does make for a good show. Brotherhood, Brotherhood kind of feels like a game that's meant to be about rebuilding Rome and a revenge plot as well. I just didn't find this game as memorable as 2, but I still think it's a fantastic game. The modern days, it's not my favorite in the world. I think this is some of the worst modern day that we had yet, in my opinion. But this game is still very good. I'm going to put it at A tier. This game still has beautiful world design. It still has some good missions. But I just don't think it's as good as 2. Again, I'll have to go back and replay them, though, and really, like, notice small details. Because I'm sure there's a lot of small things that I'm probably missing about these games that'll probably make me change my ranking. Next up, we have Assassin's Creed Revelations. Revelations, in my opinion, I originally had Brotherhood ahead of Revelations, but upon playing it, I kind of came to realize, like, how good Revelations' story is, because it does a really good job of kind of tying up loose ends with Altair's story, because they kind of just left him in the dust. So they did a really good job wrapping up his story, as well as wrapping up Ezio's story. The biggest, like, complaint that people probably have about this game is probably the map design, because it takes place in Constantinople, and it's not the biggest map in the world. Now, I personally don't mind that. I'm not someone who believes bigger is always better. I do kind of like a smaller, more compacted map, because I think it's just easier, in my opinion. I really did like the wrap up to Ezio's story in this game. You know, he finally realizes that he's kind of just been doing this whole Brotherhood thing because he was kind of forced into it. The story is pretty short. I believe it took me about 8 hours to beat it or something like that. It's not very long, but I also don't mind that either. I like it when a game doesn't necessarily force you into this really long, drawn-out story that has a lot of filler. This game doesn't really have a lot of filler. There's a lot of action sequences in this game. You know, they introduced, like, bombs and such. That tower defense minigame was absolutely atrocious. No, seriously, whoever came up with that, what were you thinking? This game, in my opinion, is the second best of the Ezio trilogy, so I would have to put it just above Brotherhood in A tier. None of these games are bad, right? Playing as Ezio is absolutely fantastic. It's just, I think 2 did it the best, in my opinion. But we're going to move on to AC3. So, I do have, like, a couple notes on this game, right? Where I think this game is good, right? This game really did revamp the whole combat and gameplay system. A lot of people really do like the tree parkour. It wasn't personally my favorite thing in the world. The overall traversal in this game is kind of meh. It's meh to me personally. I will say, AC3, in my opinion, I know people say the intro's way too long. I tend to disagree a little bit. And I can see where people are coming from because of the fact this game's only 12 sequences and you spend the first 5 playing as Haytham Kenway, right? But I would argue that that development allows you to really appreciate the reveal that he is a Templar. That could really make you appreciate that more. Especially if you didn't have anything spoiled. Like, I had no clue. When I heard Haytham Kenway say, "You are a Templar," I was like, what? No way! This guy's a Templar? That's absolutely insane. And no, that's not meant to be sarcastic. That is me being 100% honest. I really did enjoy that reveal. I thought playing as Haytham Kenway was awesome. I actually liked playing as him more than Connor. Connor is very much a one-note character, and I get it. Like, he's very much like the silent type, almost like tough and brooding. Give me Lee, give me Lee. Bro literally just is in love with Charles Lee for the majority of the game, but I understand why. Like, having that happen to you as a child, where you're essentially put in a position where you could like be unalived by this man, yeah, of course it would make you want to assassinate him. I understand that completely. And I know people are going to say, well, you have to play the Homestead missions to appreciate Connor's character. That right there is the problem. You shouldn't have to play additional side content in order to appreciate someone's character. Yes, you can reveal little bits and pieces through side quests. That's all well and good. But you should make most of their personality known during the main story, because otherwise you're going to have people say that this character is just very much one note, because Connor is very much one note during the main story. I still need to go back and play the Homestead missions, but like, that's not on the player to make that decision. Like, if they just want to play the main story, I believe that the character should be developed and revealed their personality throughout the main story, not just in side quests after the fact. That is on the developer. That is not on me as a player. The modern day in this one was very, very good. I thought it wrapped up Desmond's story very well, especially because I believe this was supposed to be the last AC game at the time, which it turned out to not even be close to the case. But AC3, it was a good game. I'm going to put it in the B tier slot. I think there's a lot of potential here, but it just didn't quite execute the way that it probably could have. But I do think there's a lot of potential here. Next, we got Black Flag. Okay, this one's going to get me into some trouble. Okay, let's start off with this. Black Flag, in my opinion, is one of the most overrated games in the franchise, right? And I understand we have Resync coming up, and I am going to play it, right? And again, I've only played it one time, so maybe there's things about it that I just didn't appreciate enough. But there are things about it that I don't need to replay to tell you that suck in the game. Tailing missions, right? Tailing missions to me were terrible. There was like 11 of them or something. It's like every single sequence there's at least one, and you're like, oh my gosh, I gotta tail this friggin' guy again. Now, Resynced is gonna fix that problem. So that's one of my complaints checked off the list. Right. Another thing, the modern day absolutely sucked, which I think they got rid of it for Resynced. I'm not 100% sure, but I will say it's just terrible. The modern day sucks. It's absolutely abysmal. The game is good. Edward Kenway's a great character. This game had some of the best side characters in the entire franchise, right? Those two things it's got going for, right? The actual story is really good as well. You got Edward Kenway starts off as a pirate, seeking out riches, trying to become rich to retire and live the better life. That is essentially his goal. But the problem is with Edward's character is it takes him losing everybody to truly realize what he has. Like it takes him losing all of his friends to realize that he's been selfish. That to me is a problem. I feel like after losing a couple of your close friends, that probably should have started to ring bells like, hey, this is a problem. This is not really a good thing that we're doing here. But the problem is Edward just didn't realize. He was so selfish. And then at the end of the game, he's kind of like, yeah, I'll join the Brotherhood. It's like, brother, what are we doing here? Like, what is this? That was completely ridiculous and seemed like a fabricated character arc almost. Like, I don't know. I get why people like this game. Like, it is a good game, but I think people overglaze it a bit too much. So if it sounds like I'm being negative, that's only because I'm not overglazing it to death like everybody else does. But I'm also not the biggest fan of ship combat in the world. I don't think it's bad. I prefer the hand-to-hand combat. I prefer the stealth. And this game also had really poor stealth. Like, it did. It was literally just Bush Camp Simulator, which the majority of the opening games are Bush Camp Simulators, because for some reason they didn't add a crouch button for the longest time. I literally have no idea why. That was actually kind of crazy to me. But like, Black Flag is a good game, and I hope that Resync does it better. But I'm gonna put it in B tier, just above Assassin's Creed 3. I think it's very close, but I would probably say Black Flag has a bit of an edge, mainly due to the main protagonist just being better. The main protagonist was way better. The side characters in this game were better, in my opinion. Next up, we have Assassin's Creed Rogue, right? Rogue and Unity came out on the same day, but I gotta go over Rogue first. Rogue, in my opinion, is the worst game of the franchise. Let me just get that out of the way. I don't think the game's inherently bad. I think it's the worst game in the sense that it's Black Flag 1.5. It's essentially a Black Flag DLC, but instead of playing as a pirate, you play as a Templar in this one. I think it's a really interesting concept. All right, let me just get that out of the way. There is a lot of potential here. Like there is a lot of potential, but the problem is Rogue's got a very short story, and it's so short to the point you don't really get to get proper character development, so everything kind of just gets rushed. Like, for instance, Shay becoming a Templar feels very, like, rushed. And, like, they essentially flip the script to make the assassins look like the evil ones, which kind of goes to show that it kind of depends on the lens that you see the game through, and, like, what perspective the story is being told from. But the assassins in this game are just cartoonishly evil. Like, they're overly evil. They're so over the top with it. It's actually ridiculous. And I think this game's trying to explain why Hercules eventually just kind of quits the Brotherhood, right? I think that that's what it is. They just wanted to kind of explain his story by making him cartoonishly evil. And I get that he was going through a rough time, but still, like, come on, man. Like, this game, meh. I probably don't care to replay it right now. I'm gonna put it in the bottom of bottom of C tier, just below Assassin's Creed 1. Now we move on to AC Unity, which one thing I like about Rogue and Unity is that the end of Rogue and the beginning of Unity tie into each other, which was very nice. It was a very cool touch. What I will say is this game's kind of mid. I wouldn't say it's bad, right? They kind of tried to revolutionize, like, I love the way they revolutionized the stealth and the combat in this game. I like that. A lot of people love the parkour, it says the best in the franchise. I disagree. It's very animation heavy, and that's only, like, when it works. But outside of that, it's very much like, sometimes the parkour is going to work, but sometimes you're going to be stuck in animations that you can't really flow with. You have to try to, like, you can't really try to rush things. You can't try to do it fast, because then that's when the game's going to start to not really work on you properly. I thought Arno as the main protagonist, he was okay. The beginning was very, very good. You know, he's kind of like this guy who, you can tell he's like a troubled kid almost. Like, he's troubled, he's had a rough life. And then as soon as he becomes an assassin, he's just so one note. And it's like, bro, he just spends the whole game simping over Elise. Like genuinely just simping over her. And she just kind of uses him the whole game, kind of strings him along. I actually laughed out loud when she died at the end of the game. Because, like, Arno was stuck underneath a bunch of rubble. And it's like, instead of going over to help him so that you both can take out the Germaine, no, instead she's just going to go deal with it herself and get killed. Like, that was stupid. So I kind of laughed at that. I'm not going to lie. But yeah, Arno's character is very I thought that the boss battle in Chapter 7, I'm blanking on the guy's name for some reason. The guy who calls him Pisspot. That guy, that boss battle was like the peak of the story in my opinion. You could argue that's a better antagonist because the fact you have to fight him and kill him, that he was a better antagonist than Germaine. Germaine didn't really offer much in terms of personality or anything. Like, he didn't really make me care to go after him. I will say, like, Paris is very well designed. Like, the map is absolutely beautiful in this game, and this game allowed for more social stealth. I thought a lot of the mission design was a bit repetitive. It was kind of almost Hitman-esque, but it wasn't repetitive, like, in a bad way. It wasn't like AC1 type of repetitive. A lot of it was, they did introduce social stealth to a certain degree, and a lot of it was break into building, kill guy, leave building, go back to headquarters. And that's the other thing. The Brotherhood in this game was not great. It felt very much like politicians on a pedestal. Like, they were standing over you or whatever, but it's like, no, like, there's like nobody in this Brotherhood. It's not like there's like a lot of assassins. No, it's like, it's like a group of like 5 leaders, 3 or 5 leaders or something like that. And they just like stand over top of you and act like they're all high and mighty to you instead of helping you out with dealing with these things that Arno, for instance, is doing. And the other gripe I have with this game, it's like, why did it, like, people, I understand why he might not have gone to kill Shay. Shay would have been very hard to find or dead or something. I could kind of understand that point, but at the same time, why didn't Arno ever ask any questions about the man who killed his dad? Like, not one time did he ask, tell me about the guy who killed my dad. He never at one point said anything about it. And that, to me, isn't very realistic. I'm sure he did as a kid, but, like, at some point you gotta start questioning, like, what is this? What happened? That is absolutely crazy. Like, my father was murdered, and nobody's gonna tell me about it? I don't know. To me, this game is good. It's kind of flat. That's what I would say. It's very, like, a lot of things are mid. I'm going to put it in B tier between Black Flag and AC3. But again, like I've said before, I'll probably have to go back and replay it before I jump to conclusions. Now we're down to 2 more games, Origins and Odyssey. So I'm actually just fresh off my playthrough of Odyssey, so I'll get to that in a minute. Origins. Assassin's Creed Origins was the second AC game I played. I know, interesting choice, right? The reason why I played it right after Black Flag. Black Flag was my first one. And the reason why I wanted to play Origins after is because I wanted to experience the RPG style elements before I got into AC2 and Brotherhood and all that. And what I will say is Origins is my second favorite game in the franchise behind AC2. This is absolutely my second favorite game. I loved Bayek as a protagonist, right? It was absolutely phenomenal. You know, his story, it was very sad, but at the same time, it's like, it makes you care a little bit more. You know, this game taking place in ancient Egypt, I thought the world design, again, very beautiful. Like, we haven't really had a bad map in this game yet, I would say. But Origins in particular, ancient Egypt, it's very beautiful to witness. You know, I can't really complain about like the mission design or anything like that. A lot of it was very good. I will say it felt a little bit flat, like in the middle of the game. It kind of falls a bit flat and drags on a bit. But, you know, teaming up with like Cleopatra, for instance, you know, I thought it was very cool to actually get to see Cleopatra in the game. I thought it was very awesome. And also, like, you know, the fact that Cleopatra was just essentially using us for the majority of the game was like the least surprising plot twist of all time. Like, she was literally just using us in order to get power over us, and it's like, wow. What a shocking reveal that a borderline politician and leader of some sort, you know, a queen or whatever, like, wow, what a shock that she was trying to use you to get more power. That was absolutely insane. But I will say the story was done very, very well. You know, the whole revenge plot thing, you could say it's tired at this point, that, like, it's overdone. But I liked it in Origins. Like, I don't know, something about it, like having your son get killed, and you have to kill all these people in order to, like, everybody who was there is gonna get it. Like, what? Brother, that's terrifying. Like, he came back for his revenge, and he absolutely got it. Origins, second favorite game in the franchise. Bottom of S tier, just below AC2. Lastly, we have Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Ooh, this one's actually kind of tough. And let me kind of break this down a little bit. I haven't even decided where it's going to go yet. That's very tough. So Assassin's Creed Odyssey is not an Assassin's Creed game. It's not. I'm just going to get that out of the way. And I know some people are going to say, well, it is an AC game because it expands on the Isu lore and stuff. Bro, the Isu lore is like the least interesting part of Assassin's Creed lore. To me, I don't personally care about it all that much. Like, I prefer more about, like, modern day protagonists, the setting that the game takes place in, the actual story of said game. I think that stuff's far more important than the Isu lore, at least to me. Now, Odyssey is a good game. I personally played through as Alexios. That was probably a mistake, but regardless, it is what it is. Odyssey is a good game. It's not a great Assassin's Creed game, right? And this game had similar issues that Origins had that I didn't really touch on, which is the level gating. I don't really enjoy, like, RPGs are one thing, but having level gating is very annoying. Like, at least in Unity, it wasn't so it wasn't like egregious. Like, it was more, that was more level scaling. Like, you can get by if the enemies were tougher than you. In these games, you can't. Like, if they're like 5 levels above you, you're gonna get absolutely cooked. Right? And the story was good, but it drags on way too long. So I can only imagine what Valhalla is gonna be like whenever I eventually get to playing that one. If I ever get around to playing that one. I probably will at some point, but man, that's going to be a drag. But what I will say, Odyssey's a good game. It had a lot of potential, but I just don't think it's a good AC game. The modern day, I really don't care about it. And the fact that there's like 3 main storylines you have to complete is absolutely ridiculous and egregious. And I cannot be bothered to go back and do the other 2 because I've played it so much at this point that I just don't care. And, like, you might say that's a bad attention span issue, but, like, I'm, like, level 40 now, I think. I just finished the main story. And it's, like, I did everything I needed to do. I don't care about the modern day so much at this point. Like, Layla's just not that interesting of a character, in my opinion, again. But you guys gotta let me know how you feel about this. Odyssey's a good game, but I wouldn't put it above any of these ones. I put it at the bottom of B tier. Bottom of B tier, I think is a good fit. But guys, this is my ranking of the Assassin's Creed games in a tier list. And I know my thoughts here are a bit scattered, so you're going to have to bear with me. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to leave a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe. And I'll see you guys later. Peace!